Yo, Miles, my good friend.
Yo, Brian.
From
how we doing?
Good. How's the Queen?
I haven't checked in on her. She's been quite quiet lately.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah. Too soon?
What do you mean? Too soon? What? Let me just text her 1 second.
Yeah. Just open Twitter. Open Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me do that now.
Mm-hmm.
King Charles III.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Just start the show, and I'll just look into this a bit.
All right. We can't waste time.
Chat. Miles did it.
This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We've been live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube, 6 p.m. Eastern. We do it live for your convenience. We do it live because we love you. We do it live because it's sexy that way. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And this guy over here to my right, the one, the only, the two Ys, Miles Dyer.
How we doing, Game Cats? Happy Friday. It's a bit weird that the last time we got together was for a 7-hour stream. And
oh wow,
I've still not fixed this yet, which came off during the show. So I need to do that. I was actually trying to find the clip of when I'm sort of sitting there, and then my arm goes, and then I'm trying to get my balance again. But it's really hard to scroll through a 7-hour stream. Do you know what I mean, Brian?
I know what you mean, and I chose not to do it. Luckily, our good friend Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry chose to do it, and he's amazing for that.
Legend.
I mean, seriously, who else out there is going to sit through a 7.5-hour live stream? As it turns out, there's some really awesome loyal cats out there who were with us the entire time. Yeah, and if you guys don't know what we're talking about, on Saturday, me, Miles, AJ, Wes, and Aceville all volunteered 7.5 hours of our life to create a top 50 PSVR list. To the delight of everybody. Nobody had any objections, Miles. Can you believe that? Not a single person out there had a single objection to the entire top 50 list. There were no complaints. No complaints anywhere. Twitter was like, dude, that's perfect. Reddit was like, fucking nailed it again, guys. And everybody on YouTube was like, man, you guys are perfect. I mean, can you believe it?
Wow. I can't believe it, but I will, because I trust you.
It's just easier that way, man. If you live in the little bubble that I've created for us, it's just so much easier than accepting.
I know, it's cool.
Than accepting the truth.
It's unanimous. Amazing. We'll never have to do one again.
That's right. That's right.
The definitive list.
We got Mako XL in the chat with the Canadian $5 tip that says schmurl. Schmurl. I don't know what that means.
Is that Welsh?
Schmurl.
I think I might be Welsh for fence or gate, I think. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Big fan. Oh man, we got so much stuff to talk about today, but let's get some housekeeping out of the way before we do anything else, guys. Make sure if you're not already a member of our Discord, just click the link in the description below. That's where conversations like this happen 24/7. We all sat around, we watched the Marvel showcase today and voice chat. And if you want access to voice chat, man, patreon.com/withoutprogames. You can get your name on that super outdated list down there. It's scrolling by. If you're a new Patreon supporter, you won't see your name because I'm terrible at my job. And I have not updated the Patreon scroll yet. I apologize. That's for the $3 plus tier. That also gets you access to voice chat on Discord. Otherwise, Discord's totally free. And then $5 a month gets you exclusive video content. We'll be doing another AMA for the $5 supporters and another episode of Why We Love soon enough. We've got interest from lots of awesome people, including our good friend who just got a job at Kluge Interactive, Creeper Betty. Good stuff.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to do a Why We Love episode together. And
amazing.
Did you miss the news that she got a job at Kluge?
That's what I mean. That's amazing.
I thought you were here for that. I'm sorry. I thought that was on our show when we broke the news. That was a different show. Okay, I'm sorry.
Last Friday.
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
No idea.
If it was, I'm really sorry for not paying attention then, because that's amazing news. Yeah.
Mako XL with the Canadian $5 tip says $5 hello/apology to Miles. He spelled your name wrong. So maybe that's what he's apologizing for. I must have missed it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, forget that thing I said earlier about it being Welsh for something.
Yeah.
And I apologise to any Welsh people that I offended with that mischaracterization.
Also, Dan Kiefer says, I object to Immortal Legacy. It's time to redo the list. So, I mean, what do you have roughly 8 hours free, Miles? Can we do this right now? Just you and me, we'll redo the whole list.
Yeah. Should we do it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Right. Well, here's my 50. You ready?
I'm ready. Number 50.
I'm 50. Mm-hmm. Immortal Legacy. Oh.
All right, we'll try again. We'll try again next week. This is going so well. Okay, I think Endeavor one said some of the games were too low. I wonder which game he's referring to.
Yeah, agreed. Rec Room should have been way higher.
Way higher. Listen, I'm not going to call anybody out, Wes. But come on, no Beat Saber? Come on. Madness. Boy, I need some coffee. Hold on, you guys. You're just going to have to wait.
And I'm actually going to wait. I'm not going to speak over. It's like that was my cue to take over. And I was like, no, I'll just watch Brian drink coffee.
I think we talk a lot on this show, but what we don't give people enough of, Miles, is moments of silence and personal reflection. I think maybe we need to consider more of that in every show.
Maybe, but we've got enough moments of silence in the UK at the moment, and I'm sick of it.
Perfect. All right, man. We got a whole lot of news to talk about today. We're gonna talk about Sony's upcoming showcase, whenever that might be. We're gonna talk about Disney and Ubisoft and all sorts of different companies out there. But first, let's take it over to the cats themselves. Let's talk to the cats who went over to our Viewer Takeover channel on Discord and left some questions to us. Starting with Orseek the Zombie Shrimp, which is a fantastic name, obviously taken from the Cave Digger stream I did yesterday. By the way, fun shit, that Cave Digger too. We're going to have to play that in co-op this weekend, everybody. Very excited because...
I want to get involved because I actually enjoyed the first one. I know I think it had components missing from like the PC release. But yeah, I saw a bit of your stream and the fact it's got multiplayer, very interested.
Yeah, it's... I did the stream by myself, and it was fun as a single player game. But you could just tell that it was sort of designed for multiplayer. So I'm really interested to see how that all sort of gels together, because it was fine by myself. It was a huge jump over the first game. It was a huge leap forward. They added all sorts of different mechanics, all sorts of exploration. You can tell. I mean, yeah. I mean, and let's be clear here. Buggy, definitely a buggy game, but nonetheless fun. So,
but it is buggy when you're digging in caves. Like there's all sorts of weird stuff where it just looks weird. So yeah, I think that's all comes with the territory.
For sure.
But do you know what I have to say about the game is like regardless of the game itself, I have huge respect when developers make a sequel, especially in like the VR space where it's a lot of indie developers. Mm-hmm. You know, it's experimenting, doing different IPs. But like when you've released something and you're like, you know what, we're going to build on it and make it even better. I think that's quite a bold thing to do, especially in the VR space where it's probably quite easy to just to keep wanting to try something new each time. So, yeah.
Agreed. And before we move on, man, Mako XL, Canadian $10 tip. Where's Windlands? Good question. I had Windlands 2 on my list. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Not really my concern any longer. The cats have voted. You did a horrible job. All right, getting back to the Viewer Takeover question, Orseek the Zombie Shrimp asks, Viewer Takeover, could Sony's strict policy about cross-play multiplayer hurt PSVR 2 games when PSVR games were already suffering from a limited audience and empty lobbies? It is true, Miles. As much as we all love PSVR, the hardcore PSVR fan base, user base, struggled when it came to, hey, let's get a game of Sprint Vector together. We'd all have to get on Discord and be like, hey, is anyone available to play a week from Saturday? Right. It's like because you can't just say, hey, does anybody want to play right now? That's really difficult. People are at work. People have different schedules. People are sleeping all over the world. So to get like 8 people together, you have to really plan ahead. Which, speaking of which, I'm just totally going to ditch this question for the time being. Because we have the perfect solution for empty multiplayer lobbies, don't we, Miles?
We do?
We do. Every single Sunday. Every single Sunday.
Sunday.
Jesus. We're off to a bad start.
Whoa.
Yep. every single Sunday, our good friend Professor Lilith puts together a GameCat multiplayer meetup that gets organized right on our Discord server. Any idea what this Sunday's game is going to be, Miles?
I do. Do you want me to say it?
Would you care to share with the rest of the class?
It's going to be Star Wars Squadrons.
Nice.
Which was a top 50.
It was a top 50. Yeah. So every single Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, just hang out on Discord, go to the multiplayer meetup channel, and that's where Professor Lilith tirelessly gets all the cats together and makes sure that everyone can play these games that are kind of sitting dormant in our backlog. And that's it, man. That's it. Just another great reason to join the Discord server, and another great reason to love Professor Lilith.
Yeah, definitely get involved, people. I mean, I've joined the last 2 weeks. So last week was Bridge Crew, Star Trek Bridge Crew, and the week before that was Alvo, and it's just been a blast. You meet game cats you may have not met with before because it's on a weekend, so time zone issues are minimized. And it's a chance for people to give games a go that perhaps they don't normally, but they're like, when's the best time to jump on a game? When there's other people to play it with. And so, Werewolves Within, there's a lot of games I can think of that I just love to jump back into when those come up on the voting. So, big shout out to Professor Lilith, does an absolutely amazing job, and we just want to make sure we're championing it on this show because it's a really, really great time. So Sunday, hopefully see you there.
I feel like we should roll credits or something. Like it seems anticlimactic to be like, and back to the show. But back to the show. So Orsik was asking about multiplayer games and if Sony's strict rules about cross-platform multiplayer could affect. Could we see the same problem on PSVR 2 ultimately with multiplayer games, Miles, that we saw in PSVR 1? What do you think?
I mean, I know there were issues with PSVR 1, but I also do remember that there's actually quite a lot of games where crossplay is available. I personally feel the direction of travel, we're going to find that the crossplay issues are going to lie with the first party PSVR games that have multiplayer. I think that's where there's going to be an issue. I think that from a marketing standpoint, when it comes to consoles, there's not a huge amount of difference when you're playing multiplayer with other console players on different devices in terms of the game experience because they're all very fast machines. But VR, can you imagine like playing a PSVR 2 game with someone on a PC VR headset, and as they're playing it, they're like, oh wow, the haptics in this headset, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't have that. What's that like? And actually, it's going to create conversations where, look, I'm not saying people are going to spend loads of money on a PC VR headset and then be like, I'm going to take this back and get a PlayStation VR 2. But I do think that there is something to be said there about, marketing it and having that shared experience. They want people to be using these headsets as much as possible. And the way you do that is by increasing the pool of players that you're going to be with online. So I do think they'll lean into it. But you had another big point regarding this, didn't you, Brian?
Well, I'm very curious to see. Like, I mean, obviously, we don't know anything until we know something, but I'm curious to see what the plan is for hybrid games. How many are we going to see? A lot of VR only games next gen, or are developers going to kind of lean into? We talk a lot about like hybrid games being things like Resident Evil Village and being like, oh, this flat screen game is going to be amazing in VR. But the fact is that it could go the other way just as easily. These amazing VR games could also play really great on the flat screen. And so if hybrid games really is the future for PSVR 2, then we could absolutely see crossplay within our own ecosystem. We could be seeing PlayStation 5 players on their flat screen be playing like Twisted Metal or whatever the VR game is, Wipeout, with PSVR 2 gamers. And so, if a VR game only sells, 40, 50, 60,000 copies, but then there's 1 million people playing it on the flat screen PlayStation 5, suddenly that user base just explodes, right? And I think that's one of the many reasons hybrid games could be important for this generation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that that does remove a lot of the issues. I think it means that the bandwidth of players that you're going to be with is going to be much larger than PSVR 1 already. I mean, technically, I think the number of... Well, hybrid games automatically is going to mean if you are a first adopter of PSVR 2, you're going to have a bigger pool of players in multiplayer than you do at any point in the PSVR 1 cycle. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple tips to take care of before we move on to the next viewer takeover question. First one comes from Belramio, the game cat, with the €5 says, gonna buy it ASAP, meaning Cave Digger 2, but also got Steel Rising today, but still gonna buy Deep Rock Cave Digger. I think Deep Rock Galactic is the game people keep comparing it to.
That was a free PS Plus game a few months ago. I started playing it, me and a friend of mine, Johnny, who plays VR, we both decided to download it, and then we just didn't get time, and then we got distracted by some VR games. And it was kind of cool, but I was like, again, it's a bit lonely in these caves. It'd be good to actually, it's a multiplayer game. It'd be good to actually, play this game with others. So I've heard good things. And, a great example of a hybrid game, If the tech is that good, it means any game that has good multiplayer appeal should instantly be supported by Sony to get a VR version.
Yeah. Mako XL with the Canadian $5 tip says, thank you both for the coverage. Seriously appreciate you. Mako XL, we seriously appreciate you as well.
Yeah, we can't do it without you guys. Otherwise it's just two guys chatting on a Discord.
Speaking of which, here's another guy with another opinion. Serial Killer, the game shrimp is back. Hashtag viewer takeover with no showcase this week. What are the chances Sony shows off PSVR 2 at TGS prior to letting consumers try Resident Evil Village for themselves? Miles,
when is TGS?
Next week, 15th to the 18th, something like that, roughly. Those dates probably are.
That's right. Yeah. It'll be from Thursday the 15th, yeah.
It's very interesting because I think all of us were saying, hey, nothing's going to happen until Sony does something themselves. And we sort of kind of, went into this month thinking that. But also thinking that Sony was going to do something in the first week of September. I think all the rumors pointed to the 8th. And it just seemed like Sony was going to do something. And that just made sense because then you blow the doors wide open on PSVR 2, on a bunch of new PlayStation 5 games that are, have been under wraps. And then, and then this Disney Marvel showcase that happened today, then they show off PSVR 2 games. The Ubisoft event that's happening tomorrow, then they show off PSVR 2 games. And the door's been blown wide open, and we've already had the showcase, and it all makes sense, right? Sony lights the fuse, and it trickles all the way down into launch. That was a horrible analogy, but launch is supposed to be when the bomb blows up. So, I don't know. But that's not what's happening, man. That's not what's happening. Sony didn't do their thing. Disney did their thing today. No PSVR 2 stuff. Ubisoft is doing their thing tomorrow. We can only assume that there won't be any PSVR 2 stuff. But then they trickle out things like Firewall Ultra on the PlayStation blog. It's really confusing, Miles. What is Sony's strategy? What the fuck is happening right now? I'm so lost.
Well, the impression I get with Firewall is that's probably something where Sony was like, yeah, all right, you can release it now, because the way that worked was they had an announcement for their fourth birthday, and then they had to say, oh, we're not ready to announce it yet. Right. Clearly, because Sony was like, yeah, we're not ready yet. Maybe they were going to do a showcase on today, yesterday, which was the 8th. Could happen next Thursday, though, because I was just looking up at the dates of the previous 2 years. So PlayStation Showcase 2021, it was on the 9th of September. But the PlayStation Showcase of 2020, which was the PS5 reveal, was the 16th of September. So we're in that window. And if the following weekend is TGS, then they can literally kick it off with that showcase. As I mentioned on a previous show when discussing this, TGS, they did that... I think they had a presence there, or they did a lot of marketing in Japan for the PlayStation 5 with a lot of influencers before engaging with influencers elsewhere.
Right.
And it didn't really hit the mainstream because you could kind of watch the videos online, but there was very few with translations and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like, even if it did happen after TGS, it would still work because it would be the global announcement. But, they could do it next Thursday and also say, this will be available to play at TGS this weekend. And it's like, and they could have some kind of marketing deal with TGS that, we're going to plug you on this showcase, and then you give us X amount of space. I mean, they could pay for it, but there's always some deals that you can do in these big events for prioritization of where you're located on the show floor and things like that. There could be some dealings with that. So I think it could be next week. The fact that they have not shown anything, or nothing has been shown today for a Disney Marvel, when we know Sony has big properties involved with that. It as the months go by, it's clear that they're holding off more and more. And the only two circumstances really where that hasn't happened was with Square Enix around E3. I think it was actually Square Enix's E3 presentation, which was about the new Final Fantasy. I can't remember. Is it Rebirth, the part 2? And then it's Capcom with the Resident Evil VR, which they obviously showed on their own, but then they've allowed them to go to TGS and show Resident Evil Village there. Capcom and Square Enix are two third parties that are incredibly close to Sony, so that works. Everything else, all hush hush, and I sense something's coming very, very soon.
I mean, something's obviously coming very, very soon, right? We just actually, it's coming so soon that like it should have happened already. And so, but also this is a busy month, and
yes,
and I think a lot of us thought that maybe Sony would kick off the busy month, but instead I think what's happening here, and it's easy to say this in retrospect after they haven't done the showcase we thought they were going to do. So I feel like I'm like a Monday morning quarterback right now. Oh, hey, Tornado, what's going on, bud? It's there's so much going on. There was the Marvel showcase today, the Disney showcase today. There's the Ubisoft thing tomorrow. There's TGS happening next week. There's an Oculus event happening next month, right? And Sony traditionally always wants to go last, and so that they can sort of have the final word. And I think if say the showcase was today for Sony or yesterday, then would the message get lost by being followed up by whatever Disney had to say today, by followed up whatever Ubisoft had to say tomorrow? The message would get lost, and big excitement of Tokyo Game Show. It would be too easy for them to sort of just get mixed in with everything else, even though I'm sure the announcements are going to be way bigger than anything we saw today. So I think they've got a history of going last, and the fact is if we haven't seen anything yet this month, if we haven't gotten an announcement for anything this month, I'm a little bit, depending on how much of the showcase will involve PSVR 2, maybe they're waiting till after the Oculus showcase because they want them to do their thing and then Sony just to fucking stomp them, as they always do, man. They always do. They always stomp the competition whenever they have a showcase or a press conference right after Microsoft. It's always like Xbox is like, look what we're doing, this is fucking awesome, and then Sony goes, look what we're doing, and just stomps them every single time. So maybe that's what they're doing with this too, knowing full well that it's going to be torture for us to wait, but it'll be worth the wait.
Yeah, you've reminded me now, actually, of when we were discussing, I think last week, such a blur with all those 9 hours we were streaming together over the 2 days. And it was the notion that, when PlayStation 5, what was the price going to be? There was this kind of standoff between them and Xbox. Xbox declared, and then Sony followed up. And there was a lot of speculation that Sony had to whack down their price by $50 or something to become competitive, and it was determined after Xbox had made their announcement. So in a way though, it's a question of like positioning, because if Sony waits until Oculus as an active decision, and it would be an obvious wait because it would be until late October, that would be quite a public announcement, maybe just to us who are love speculating on and paying attention to the news, but not sure the mainstream consumers may think it. But it would be a declaration of, okay, we see Oculus or Meta as a direct competitor now, whereas they haven't before. Whereas if they just announce it in September, they could still stand aside and go, no, we're still PlayStation, we still do our thing. Meta can do their thing, but we're the real deal. So I do think there's an argument for both. I think they should be going out next month, sticking with the theme of every September. It's in everyone is expecting it now, and not doing it yesterday is fine. because they probably calculated with these other events, doesn't matter how big it is, the sort of the half-life of the energy post-event will dissipate because it will get muddled up with Marvel and these other massive IPs in the world. So yeah, next week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens because this is a new Sony, and so far they've been relatively quiet. I think a lot of people take that as a sign of weakness or that they don't know what they're doing. I just saw Shooty Hootie GameCat right in the chat say, "I think this is Sony being clumsy Sony," which is, I think, I think unfair. I've been saying this for a while now, and if you saw my recent op-ed, you know, like exactly what I think on this and what their plans are. That said, I'm going to agree with everybody in just a couple more months. If Sony hasn't made their move, if they haven't done the big reveal, if they haven't made a big splash when it comes to PSVR 2, I will be with you guys. I promise. But I feel like they haven't had a chance yet. We'll see how this goes. But for right now, I'm being optimistic. And when you have a multi-billion-dollar corporation like Sony, yes, they've made mistakes in the past, and yes, they've made mistakes this gen. But I don't think they're going to make a mistake big enough for us not to. I think once we see what they've got planned, once we see their showcase, everyone's going to be back on board, period. So we'll see what happens, though. If I've been wrong before, and I will be hopefully not proven wrong again, right? Because we all want this showcase to be amazing. We all want it to show us what they've been working on. We want it to be exciting, and we want to be proud to be like, hey, we fucking PlayStation 5, man. We've got a PlayStation 5, and look at all these cool games coming for it. Otherwise, I don't know. Let's go buy an Xbox. And
actually, yeah. Just to quickly confirm before we move on, for those asking in the chat, so the Tokyo Game Show, it starts on Thursday the 15th of September, as Brian said, and it ends on Sunday the 18th. And I think there's a preview on the Wednesday on the 14th as well. So, hand in hand with the launch of it. Yeah. Could be special. And
any opening night stuff, anytime, any live streams that they're doing from there will be co-streaming. We'll be making sure that if you guys want to watch that with us, then we'll make sure that we do that. Super happy I didn't stream the Marvel Disney showcase today because it was some mobile stuff and a bunch of stuff that not a lot of people care about, and obviously no VR stuff. Although I know that there were some things that people were excited about. So I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm just saying for what I'm interested in. I'm glad I didn't stream it. We got a couple tips, man. Let's do this real quick. We got Mako XL with a Canadian $10 tip. Says give half to Miles. Miles, I'll have to Venmo you $5 Canadian after the show. We got Ultimate Carnage, the Game Cat, which is a fucking phenomenal name, with the 4.5 quid. Jim Ryan talked how Microsoft might make Call of Duty. So let me try this again. I can't read, remember? Jim Ryan talked how Microsoft might take Call of Duty off PlayStation in 3 years' time. This is the perfect time for Sony to make their own Battle Royale possible for VR. Dude, this is the perfect time. I'm actually surprised. Obviously, we don't know what Sony's been doing, but this is the perfect time, and hopefully Sony's already started doing this. They need their own Call of Duty.
Sony have said internally, and it's been leaked a lot, that their focus in their strategy is like live service games. That's their weakness, multiplayer. Naughty Dog are working on Factions, and it looks like it's going to be a massive game, and that could potentially be live service. They've invested in Bungie to learn all about their experiences over a decade's worth of with Destiny and everything that came with that. Mm-hmm. So. That's the exciting thing I find when it comes to acquisitions, no matter in what form they take. It's the cross-pollination of all these expertise. The idea that creators of Santa Monica Studio, when making God of War, can speak to Naughty Dog, and they can have discussions about, this is how we do the foliage, or this is how we do the animation with combat. And then Bungie come in and saying, yeah, this is the systems we set up for online multiplayer co-op. That's just really exciting for me, because although people say that acquisition closes down competition, mm-hmm. The collaboration aspect can also be just as valuable, and there is still competition, obviously, in the grand scheme of things as well. They want to make the best game of the year, so
I don't have any issue with massive acquisitions like Microsoft just did with ZeniMax. It matters so little to me. In fact, it makes each console more special, right? I miss the days where Sega Genesis had their exclusives, and Super Nintendo had their exclusives, and like you had to buy one system for one thing, and other stuff. The 360 and PS3 generation was for so long, for most of that generation, they were like the same console, right? And they were, except for maybe like Gears and Halo over here, and like Uncharted and Infamous. Resistance?
Yes.
Last of
Infamous
Us
was Sucker Punch.
but it was all first party, right? So,
sorry, yeah, it was first party. Yeah.
So those are so exclusive, but again, a bulk of the releases were cross-platform, and I like having an excuse to have different consoles for different games, or choosing the console that makes more sense for me. I haven't yet had a reason to own an Xbox console this generation. In the last generation, I gave my Xbox One away to Dez because his 360 broke down. He needed something that would play his 360 games, and I was like, dude, this is just collecting dust. You can have it. Like, I bought it because I like to be a cross-platform guy. I got a Switch. I like to see what other what's happening in other ecosystems, but I'm just not terribly interested in what Xbox is doing currently. So hopefully this will change that. I want to see more acquisitions. I want to see what Sony does in response to potentially losing Call of Duty in a few years. To me, that drives the excitement, that drives innovation, that drives Sony to fucking be better than they are. Because sometimes they get to sit back and go, third party's taking care of it for us. We don't need to worry about it. And they now fucking need to worry about it. And that makes me go, okay, Sony, now show us what you're made of. And this is when things get exciting. Otherwise, it's like, oh, another generation where everything's the fucking same. No, this is exciting shit. I love it. We got Firebird Old School with the 50 Sekiros. Miles, block your ears for this. Anyone want to play the game? When Miles says, drink. By the way, have a good weekend. Miles, do you say a lot? Because I have never noticed this.
I do. I do, but I don't say it as much as I used to. I used to and ah a lot. And also, I think just because of the time of night here.
Yeah, it's like midnight
I get a bit slowed down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I'm still dealing with brain fog and stuff from this post-COVID stuff, which is super annoying. So
yeah.
I often get halfway through sentences and don't know what the hell I'm talking about, even more than normal.
also give us a break, man. Like, we're up here with 200 people watching us. It's not the easiest thing to do.
Do you know what actually? Yeah, and it's good to reflect on because it's something I always try and unprogram, and that's what you have to do with those bad habits, and you see it when you watch yourself on replay. I did it there.
We're never going to be able to do the rest of the show if we think about the number of times we say now. It's just not. We're just going to stall out.
But where I annoy myself is when you fall into those like traps, where you say, this like, it was like this, like that, and you say it 3 times a sentence,
it's like this and like
you
that,
can't get out of it.
This and it's like this and like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Snacks.
And by the way, chat, I don't take it personally. Like I welcome critiques because I want to do better.
Please, the Let's Go to Tokyo Game Cat with a $5 tip. It says the RE4 remake on PSVR 2 was a shots fired moment after Meta did the OG RE4 in VR. I wonder if we will get that after Meta Showcase with GTA or something. Yeah, dude, so many people keep telling me all these reasons why there's just no chance in hell GTA 5 could ever be on PlayStation VR 2. And I'm like, really? Really? Like, okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying that, like, yeah, if we want to show, if Sony wants to show Meta what's up, and they get San Andreas and we get GTA 5 and GTA Online on PSVR 2, I mean, that's game over right there as far as I'm concerned. One of the most popular games of all time. I mean, yeah. It's not even a game I'm terribly interested in. I would spend hundreds of hours in that game. Yep. All right, man. So you want to start the show?
Sure.
All right. You and I both played some Transformers this week. It's time to
we did indeed.
Give everyone some thoughts on that. The game came out last week. Things have been kind of hectic, and it says we took a little bit of time to get some thoughts together here. But Transformers VR Beyond Reality is now out for $19.99, at least in USD. I'm sure it's different in pounds. I don't know the conversion, but it's something.
I'll look it up now.
All right. It's a rail shooter, and it takes place in the Transformers universe. Miles, what did we love about Transformers VR Beyond Reality?
Well, can we preface this first by... And Transformers Beyond Reality isn't out in Europe yet. I've just realised.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that they said last week that it should come out in Europe this week. And I knew full well that when they said, we think it should be out next week, that's just not how shit works. Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion is still not out in Europe, and it's been 3 years, right? We are now, Anyone's Diary that came out in Europe 3 years ago, we're getting on PSVR here in North America, like, next week. Like, it's not always easy to get your game out in different regions. And different developers will give you different explanations as to why that is. Some developers go, it shouldn't be a problem at all. Just click a couple boxes. And other developers are like, we just can't fucking get it out, man. We have no idea what's going on with Sony. So apologies to Europe and the UK about the delay. We're apologizing on behalf of Metaphor Interactive. It's not really our place to apologize, but we're going to talk about it. So for some of you, this will be a review, and some of you, it'll be a preview. How about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
My first question before we start the main conversation, Brian, is you mentioned, you touched on it before. Are you a fan of Transformers? Were you a fan of Transformers growing up as a kid? Did you watch it?
Not really. No, I mean, I was aware of it. I've certainly watched a few episodes when I was a kid, and it was fine. I wasn't excited about it. I was more of a Nope, that's not it. Voltron, Thundercats. Yeah, those were the two big ones for me, Voltron and Thundercats. Okay. And this was, and just whatever. What about you? Was this part of your childhood?
It didn't appeal to me growing up. I've been dragged to one of the movies, and I thought it was absolutely abysmal. But I do appreciate people that like Transformers. And one of my thoughts while playing this was, if I was a Transformers fan, I would probably love this.
Interesting.
Just for the fact that you're in that world. So I think that's really, really cool. Yeah.
There was a Commodore 64 Transformers game that I really, really liked. I know I bring up Commodore 64 like every single week here, but there were some really, really great games on it. And Transformers there was a good one. There were a couple of G.I. Joe games I think on it that were really good. Friday the 13th was awesome. We should just talk about Commodore 64. Yeah.
Everyone's talking about childhood TV shows.
Nice. Yeah, let the chat talk, man, because they always put on a better show in the chat than we do up here in front of everybody, and that is backed by our good friend Firebird Old School with the 50 Sekiro saying, anybody want to play the game? Brian say, drink, bring your crates. Bring your crates. What does that mean? Is that a cheers? What does bring your crates mean?
I don't know. I'm so lost.
No idea.
Brian, what was your overall thoughts? You did a live stream playing this.
I did.
What were your overall thoughts of this? Have you completed the game?
Yeah.
There are six levels.
6 levels. 8. There's like 5 difficulties. There's all sorts of different ways you can play it. There are different sub weapons you can choose, So
there's
classes, right? Which is just like a lame way of saying, what are you going to hold in your left hand? In your right hand you've got your standard blaster, infinite ammo, just ding 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 ding, right? Constantly.
Can I just say that my trigger finger had to change?
Yeah.
By level 2, I was just I could even feel it now. And even when I upgraded that gun, that's all I invested, because after every level you get currency that you can use to upgrade your character.
Energon.
Yeah. And I thought, great, I'm putting it all on my primary weapon so I don't have to tap it as much. So that's all I spent it on, upgrading after each level, and I'm playing on normal. And I'm still having to tap it so many times, even though that's all I'm... So it makes me worry, if I'd invested the currency on anything else and my gun was still the first level, my finger would be falling off by now.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man, absolutely. And I think the upgrade system that you were just talking about is one of my favorite things. Progression systems, upgrade systems, anything you can do to make yourself feel stronger as you progress through the game, always gets bonus points for me. I always feel like that just makes everything more fun. And so that was a big thing for me, absolutely. The secondary weapon, right? So I mostly played through with the shield to begin with. That just seemed like a
Same.
natural fit. You've got your shield,
Agreed.
and because you do have to block all the incoming attacks, you have to dodge incoming attacks, and so having a shield to keep you from having to move around too much felt like it kind of saved the day for me.
Yeah, I went with the shield. I was confused in the tutorial though because
The
it
tutorial
showed you
sucked.
all the you get shown all these secondary weapons like the sword and the shield,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, did I just miss something? How am I supposed to switch between these? Now I'd like to go back actually and experience the tutorial again.
Yeah.
It might have explained it, but it was only when I went back to the main menu and it says choose your class,
Right.
and each one has a different secretary. I was like, okay, I get it now. And you choose what your primary is going to be, and then you also get an ultra weapon by putting your hand over your shoulder and bringing it back. And I stuck with the laser that just pings a laser that just grinds everything away. But even that, there's a few times where I was just moving my hand and I accidentally would bring it out. That might have been me just being an idiot. And this is the first VR game in a long time where when I take the headset off, I realise how much I've moved around the room. I don't know if you felt that as well.
I had to keep myself pretty grounded. I play on a tiled floor, and so there's the grout between the tiles, and I can kind of put my toe on a grout, and
Right.
sort of keep myself grounded and know where I am at all times. But I certainly
I don't know if that's just because in game it didn't. Obviously, it did have the circle on the floor, but the nature, you're ducking under things, you're looking behind you as things go past, you're dodging. There's a lot of movement where I don't know psychologically, and it could have been just me playing it today, having that experience, but I felt I was constantly drifting in my physical space that I had to keep recentering myself.
I can totally see why that was happening to you, because I feel like this game, more than say something like Pistol Whip, which was just like, oh, this is things right here, just move my head over here. This, I felt like I needed to take a big step to one side or the other. It required more from the player, a bigger dodge to actually not get hit by these things. And so I can totally see why you'd be moving around more than you would normally. I was talking to Nick Mulo, the game cat, and he said he got a pretty good workout from all the dodging and crouching and everything like that. He's surprised he woke up the next morning sore. And he was like, it's weird, man. He's like, that didn't seem like that kind of game, but then it was. So totally understandable.
What difficulties did you play on?
So as always,
Did you get?
What's up?
Did you go for the most brutal? Is it brutal?
Brutal.
The top one.
Brutal's the top one. Yeah. As always, I always just play on the default difficulty, whatever it sets you.
It was
when
normal.
you start the game, normal. And
that's what I did.
And I just play through completely that way. The interesting thing about this is that I did feel like it's sort of set up interesting, like in an interesting way, because you can change the difficulty at any time. And what was happening to me was I'm here I am. I'm just going to play through normal. And so I'm kind of grinding. I'm leveling up all my attributes, all my stats. And then by the time I had finished the game on normal, I was pretty much maxed out on everything. And so then I was like, okay, well, let's go to hard mode. It's sort of New Game Plus, because you can just go to any level you want on any difficulty at any time, as long as you've beaten the levels. Right? So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to treat this as New Game Plus. I upped it to hard, and it wasn't any harder because all my stats were higher. And so I was like, oh, so it feels like I'm kind of playing the same game all over again, because now the enemies have higher, it requires more shots to kill them, but it doesn't take more shots to kill them because I've upgraded my blaster. And so it felt like I was playing the exact same game.
So there's not more enemies?
No, it didn't feel that way. No.
Yeah.
I did hear, though, I need to spend more time on Brutal before I finish my review. I heard that there were less pickups. So with, there were health icons everywhere. There were
one of my favorite bits of the game, actually. The upgrade system you mentioned, absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
The pickups, because you have to shoot them and you would peer into the distance. And I loved it when you could see the blue lightning bolt right in the distance and you shoot it and you're like, did I hit it? And then it just keeps coming towards you. You're like, yeah, I got it. It's a fun little mini game, just collecting them all and looking around, because sometimes they're high up on buildings.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes they're in the distance between hills or things like that.
It is something I love about rail shooters, going all the way back to Time Crisis, favorite of mine, House of the Dead. All those games really resonated with me when I was younger. Shooting the zombies and shooting the bad guys was always a priority, so you don't die. But it's also, hey, is this thing destructible over here? Can I shoot these barrels? Can I shoot this crate? Is there a power up for me, or is there some health for me? And the camera was always moving in a way on those old games to say, oh, you only see this crate for like 2 seconds, and you got to shoot the crate and get the power up, and before the camera swoops away. It's not really an issue here. In fact, the entire game is, I would say, extremely easy. It's kind of hard to die once you've got all the mechanics down. I would say that it's certainly, and especially if you treat the game the way that I did and play the harder difficulties once you've upgraded all of your weapons and your health bar and your damage. It suddenly becomes easier. I think the only way to make this game difficult from the onset is to start a new save and just go right to brutal difficulty or right to hard difficulty and treat it as if you aren't allowed to play it on normal first. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've played 3 levels, or I'm on the 3rd level, and I'm having a good time. I think Wes just in the chat was saying play for a couple of hours, had fun. And that's great. I was pleasantly surprised when I played it. One of the thoughts that came to my mind very early on was it's very slow to begin with. It's walking pace, and I'm on this machine that's, you're on a vehicle, aren't you?
You are. If you look behind you, it's a vehicle, but if you just look down, it seems like you're just floating on this platform that's driving you through the level. I'm like, all right.
Yes. And it starts slow, and then this isn't really spoilers because it's very early on, but you get to a point where you're really bombing it down the road and you're going at a really fast speed. And then level 2, it goes slow again. And I always want to go faster and faster until you get hit, and then it slows you down again, because there was a bit where I had to sort something out and I didn't know how to pause it. So I came back and I was going really slow, and I thought, was it because I've been hit enough times? That kind of mechanic would be cool, that you gain speed until you get hit. The speed, I think the differences were good. The levels look great. Sometimes there were explosions, like buildings blowing up, which looked great sometimes, and then had really poor frame rates, and sometimes really like Minecraft blocky. There was an interesting mix there. And then there's the animations with spoilers. There are these cars in this game that turn into like big like robots.
You're so ridiculous.
I know. I was quite, and I guess that's where it comes from, Transformers, because they're literally transforming from like vehicle into these big robots. But joking aside, they're fighting around you. Kind of cool. Although I was wondering at first who I'm supposed to be helping, trying to shoot the bad one, and it's just hitting these like ripple force. It's like the force field's rippling, and I found that really annoying that there's literally no interaction.
It kind of sucks. There's the fact is we've said a lot of good things about this game, but I find that there's way more bad things about it. It seems like it's sort of a generic rail shooter that the Transformers were sort of just unceremoniously shoved into. There's cutscenes between each level that are just comic book pages, and it's like, okay, I guess that's okay if you're a fan of the show or a fan of the comics or a fan of the cartoon or whatever. Maybe you like this more than I am. I didn't find it to be all that much fun to follow the story, so I was just kind of skipping through it. Also, you're not playing as a Transformer. And the developers had said, hey, we want to play with a sense of scale. We want these things to be massive all around you. I didn't feel the sense of scale being all that magnificent. I felt like it actually, and I would love to find out what actually happened here, but it feels kind of flat to me. Right? It doesn't feel like as immersive as it could be. Almost like what's happening around me is just kind of playing out on a flat plane. And so that sense of scale didn't really come home the way that I wanted it to. And so,
agreed.
And as you said, you can't, there are these big hulking Transformers, Autobots, and Decepticons duking it out on the side of the street, and you want to help. You want to participate. There's a little, measly human, and you want to shoot the bad guy. They don't let you do that. And on top of that, they just keep giving you these generic enemies, these repeated enemies. They just keep showing up. Bzz, 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 bzz. They just keep reusing the same enemy, and you don't even get to watch these cool battles that are happening because you're too busy boink, 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 shooting all these little bad guys around the screen. It's like, so if you're a fan of Transformers, you don't even kind of get to watch the cool shit that's happening because you're busy trying not to die.
Yeah, there's a lot of looking over your shoulder, and like ones, like especially when they go over your head, you're like, do I have to destroy it or is it going to come back round? And a lot of the times there's no point. Once they're over your head, just leave them. The ducking mechanic that we saw in the trailer, these little robots that's it and come towards you. The way I describe it is, once you've ducked under one, you've had your fun with them. I maybe later on, but I've completed 2 levels now, and the mechanic is the same. Yep. There's no diversity.
They should have put them at different heights. Most VR games understand that your head is the only hitbox. So crouch underneath the ones that are coming at your head, and then force people to stand up for ones to go under your legs. The fact is that you can, once you crouch under the first one, you can just stay crouched. You can sit on your floor, and they are never an issue ever again. If you really just want to cheat the game, but the fact is the game shouldn't let you cheat that easily. It's silly.
Yeah, I thought they could have done like lots of different ones coming at you, maybe on different sides, and so you're having to move around. Maybe one's coming that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was only one that almost caught me out, and again, enemies were coming from my left, and I turned forward and I'm like, oh, missed that one. That was kind of cool, but that happened just once. So from what my impression is from the more difficult ones, levels that you played, it seems that those didn't get more difficult on the brutal. It's just they do more damage, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really got that much more difficult. And again, you're upgrading the entire time. And so if things are supposed to get more difficult, then it's scaling to the point where I didn't notice. So, I don't know. Yeah, this is...
the only other...
Talk to me.
I just had 2 more small things to mention it. One was the audio levels I found a bit bizarre, especially on the second boss. When the boss was speaking... And by the way, the bosses are pretty cool. Bit too simple. It's, again, I've only played the first 2 bosses. It seems they have 2 main actions that just repeat between the 2, and there's nothing more. But I think visually it looks great. The world building is great. The second level, these massive look like solar panels that are set up all around you on this field, looks great. But the boss was speaking, and it sounded like he was like right in my ears, and then his voice is really far away, and that kept fluctuating. But the final point I wanted to make about this game, Brian, was as I was playing it and considering the resolution, I thought, I can't wait to play this on PlayStation VR 2. I think having better triggers, especially with how much you're having to press it, and the different guns feeling different with haptics, I'm sure it is going to get a PSVR 2 patch, but how much you were having to shoot, I can definitely feel I've got a minor strain in my finger, and I kept flicking between my index finger and my middle finger, and yeah, that was even on the first level. You're having there's not much diversity there. You're just having to keep tapping it.
Yeah, having to pull that trigger over and over and over and over again. The thing is that this was a problem with Evasion when Evasion first launched, and Archaeact, I believe, was the developer, patched it so that you could just hold the trigger down for spurts of fire. There's 2 different ways to handle this to make this not an issue, and one is to either focus on accuracy to make sure that, hey, like a headshot or something would take him out in one shot, and so that you're not just going ting 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 ting. You're lining up your shot and going boom, pulling it off, right? Either focus on accuracy that way, or in a game like this where it is all about kind of a rapid fire approach, then you need to be able to hold down your gun. Hold down the trigger for an automatic fire, and and then have some kind of overheating mechanic, cooldown thing, right? This happened in Farpoint. It was a great way to handle it. You can see like the tip of the gun would start to get red, and like fucking like, okay, we gotta cool it, right? Otherwise it's gonna overheat, and then I won't be able to fire for a few seconds, and I'll be at the enemy's mercy. There's multiple ways to take care of this, and they didn't do they didn't do anything. And the worst part is that there is a power up you can get in the game that gives you rapid fire, right? And so you can just hold it down for, I don't know, was it 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and just go, and you feel so good for that 5 or 10 seconds. You're like, this is how the game should play. Like, this would be so much more fun, because they do rate you on accuracy at the end of each level. And so, fine, man, for people who care about accuracy, like you're being rated on that, you're being scored. It feels like they're punishing us. It does. It's stupid, man. My trigger finger hurts.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. And having that diversity of gun like play in terms of being able to hold it in bursts. Yeah. The other question I had about it was, and again, because I've only played it for 2-3 levels.
Yeah.
The HUD I think is pretty good. But indications about when your ultra weapon was ready, and like when it's charged and that, I felt I wasn't getting that. I didn't feel I was knowing when it was ready. I was going for ages, and it probably was charged already. Yeah. I feel like there needs to be a bit more input because there's so much going on. Like, even if it is on the HUD, there needs to be more cues about key parts of the game.
Yeah, and it is all on the HUD. That's the crazy part. The ultra weapon is in the very, very top right hand corner, but it's so subtle,
isn't it? Yeah,
it's so subtle that it gradually goes from red to gray again. And when it's gray, I think it's ready to be used.
Gotcha.
And
but having one of the Transformers voices going, ultra ready,
right? Something
that'd be arcadey, and
the HUD has all the information you need, but there needs to be other ways of getting that feedback. Even when you get hit, you don't always know that you get hit if you're not looking at the life bar, if your health bar. There should be some kind of visual effect, some kind of sound effect to say you just got hit, man. It's like, and make it, some vibration, some, I don't know, some indicator, man, just to let you know, like, watch out, man, you're getting hit right now. This is bad. And if you're not looking at the life bar specifically, you might not even know you're getting hit. So that's the problem is it's a fun game, but it just for all the potential that it had, it didn't even come close to what it should have been. This is getting like roughly a 6 from me, 6 out of 10 at best. And I still got to play a little bit more because I haven't played enough brutal mode, brutal difficulty. And once I play a little bit more brutal difficulty, I'll have the review done, and that should be up sometime tomorrow, I think. So, nice. But yeah, roughly 6 out of 10. So not terrible, but also not great. Somewhere right in the middle.
But the price, Brian.
But the price, $20, man, $20.
That is pretty good. Because what I was speculating before was, for an IP like that, I can imagine it being 30, being overpriced. I actually think for what you get for it, $20 is, considering the IP. Yeah. $20 I think is actually a pretty decent price. Isn't
it weird that we have to consider the IP, right? Instead of it just being random robots.
Sure.
Right? It could have been random robots.
Right. If we were just judging
reality.
It on the game,
yeah. I feel like this would be like if this game was $12.99, it'd be like, all right. Right? But it does lead us to a very interesting segue here, Miles, and that is that brings us to the poll that's been running the entire time on the channel while we've been doing this, and that is, should the price of a game affect the review score? And while it's relevant for something like Transformers, I think in kind of the grander scope of of video games as a whole right now, people have been asking about The Last of Us Part 1, because The Last of Us Part 1, here's Naughty Dog charging for the third version of this game, charging $70 for something that doesn't even have all the content that the first game did, back when they released it on PS3, and it's already had a remaster, right? And so without getting into that discussion about Last of Us specifically, the question is should the price of a game affect the final score? And I gotta say, Miles, I'm a little surprised by the results here. We had 200.
I haven't actually looked yet. So yeah.
Yeah.
Are we ending the poll?
I'm ending the poll right now. The
Let's
265 people voted, which is a good number.
Mate, loads of people are still voting now.
Yep. 266. Okay. Anybody else?
And you're not hitting the like button, people. Hit the like button as well. That's what you got to pay to enter the poll.
Should the price of a game affect the review score? With 266 votes, 56% of the people said yes. 44% said no. That's a pretty close split. That's a pretty close split. I'm actually really curious because the fact is, Miles, if a game comes out at $6 and we're like, oh, this is pretty good, right? And we say, hey, yeah, this is worth your money. My problem here is that what's the point of a review if we don't take price into consideration? Isn't the point of a review to help people decide how to spend their money? If all games were free, then we wouldn't need reviews. Everybody could just try them out and test them themselves. Go, oh, this one's for me. This one's not for me. This one's for me. This one's not for me. Sure, there's a time-saving element here as well, in trying to figure out, find out some more about the gameplay mechanics, whatever. But when it comes down to actually scoring something, I'm actually shocked that more people aren't concerned. Don't think the price should reflect on the score at all.
So for me, should score be factored into the review? Should the price be factored into the review? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But the score, I feel it's a side point. You've mentioned The Last of Us Part 1 already. Mm-hmm. It's getting 5 out of 5s, maybe some 9 out of 10s. But a lot of the reviews have said, or when they've been discussing their reviews, would I recommend it to other people if I was buying this? No, I would wait for it to drop in price. So I do think you can do it with that caveat. Now, this might be an unfair sort of mind experiment to play right now, Brian, but let's think of a PSVR game that you've given a great rating. So Saints and Sinners, you gave that what?
A 10? 10 out of 10, yep.
Right, okay, and what price was it at launch?
$39.99.
Okay.
Perfect price.
And this might seem like a completely absurd mind game to play, mind experiment. But let's just say it came out at $80.
Yep.
Would that have impacted the score? Or would you have said, no, it's a 10 out of 10 game, but this is way too much? Or I would wait for it to go down.
Yeah, I do think, for me, price absolutely plays a part in when you're talking about this. We look at $40 and go, damn, what a value, right? What a value you're getting for $40. This is great. Mm-hmm. This is but if they were charging $80 for it, you'd go, well, it better be AAA quality. The world's better be really big. We hopefully will get hundreds of hours of gameplay out of this. Who the fuck knows, man, right? Every game's different, but when you start charging for something, you start setting expectations. You start when you say, "Hey, our game is going to be $20," you go, we're gonna give ourselves a pass here and get away with some flaws. When you start charging $30, $40, $50, you start removing your ability to get a pass. And And so once you get up to $80, it's like we are expecting something that is console quality, AAA quality, that something you would find on a flat screen for as much as anybody has ever charged for a video game. And I think that we look at something like Saints and Sinners that I know some people out there would consider it AAA. I think that's asinine. I think it's a triple I game, as Dan from Electric Cat coined that phrase recently. I know it wasn't his phrase, but he kind of clued us into it. It's a very, very polished indie game in my book, and I don't see it. If you start charging any more for Saints and Sinners than $40, I do think the score should go down. I'm like, oh, you're not really getting your money's worth here. And I'm okay. Like, honestly, if everybody in the chat was like, Brian, you can't take price into consideration. You just can't, because you're reviewing the game, not the price. Then I would say, all right, man, we'll go that direction, right? If this is what people want. But I've always considered a review, is this game worth the money?
So on the flip side, Brian, what about a free-to-play game like Rec Room? Now, you've never done a review, or you didn't even if you'd done a review back then, you wouldn't have been given scores at the time. But what has been the last free-to-play VR game that you've reviewed? Or I don't know, maybe there haven't been any.
No, I mean I haven't. I haven't.
And that might be something we just see for PSVR 2 with Fortnite VR, for example. It's right. How would you review free-to-play games?
I mean,
because again, I would say you would still give it a score. I'm not saying that the score can't be. Maybe there's this sort of middle ground here where score should be like taking that into consideration, but not significantly, in the sense that if there was a free game, you could say, well, you've got nothing to lose, but you're still going to give it a fair review, saying, I mean, in an age where, okay, money is finite, but so is your time. And so it's a question of, is this worth your time to put a headset on and engage with? So
absolutely, perhaps
we're saying that price is an important factor and considered with scoring, but it's just one of many factors, because it's also about, is this a waste of your time? Yeah,
one of many factors. That's the fact. It's like it's not like as the price goes down, the score goes up. Right. I mean, like, no offense to anybody who's never reviewed a game before, but there's a fucking lot of shit that goes into it. And if you say, oh, this game's $1, then it must be a 10. No, that's not. In the higher the price gets, the lower the score gets. That's not how it works, even in the slightest. No. To me, price has to play a factor. And again, if that's not what people think, if it's to me, Miles, put it this way: if a game is absolutely amazing and they're charging 3 times more than they should, right? Can I really give that game a 10 out of 10? People say, oh, you gave it a 10 out of 10, but it's only an hour long. You gave it a 10 out of 10 and it's $70.
Yeah.
It's like, people look at 10 out of 10s and go, this is a must buy. This is a must buy. And I think they look at it and say, this is a must buy at the current price. You should go out and buy this game right now. You see the review, it's 10 out of 10. You should go buy it right now. But if that's not what I'm trying to say, then don't you think that score is misleading?
I think it's about the context in which you're not just putting scores out there, you're giving a review.
But look at Metacritic. Metacritic is just scores, right?
I get it. But what I would say is, when reviews are given, you don't start with the score.
True.
This is my review, 10 out of 10. Now here are my reasons. Right. Now you build a case. And I agree with you. But the way that things are curated on scores, you can say that with Rotten Tomatoes or tomatoes and film scores.
Wait, the Funk Brombro, the Game Cat in the chat says price shouldn't be considered, but length should be. What? Wait, what? Everything should be considered. Everything,
including the box art.
But if you can't get a physical, then 0 out of 10. Because that's exactly the scale, man. That's the scale. If it's a physical, it's a 10 out of 10. If it's digital only, it's 0 out of 10. No, that's the thing. It's like there's so many factors that go into it. And this totally shows now why the chat was so divided on it, why it was almost 50-50, why half the people think it should play into it and why the half don't. It's a conversation I would like to continue and figure out, because as we move into the PSVR 2 era, Miles, Without Parole has been growing up with the community. And when I say Without Parole, I mean me. I started off, my original reviews were painful to watch, and that's putting it nicely. And as people were like, why are you talking so slow? Why are there big pauses between your sentences? I'm like, oh yeah, why are there big pauses between my sentences? And I've been listening to the community this entire time. I've been listening to the community since day one, and I'm not getting better because I've been doing this for so long. I'm getting better because I've been listening to you guys. And so if this is part of what makes Without Parole better in the PSVR 2 generation than we were in the PSVR 1 generation, then that's something I'm more than happy to listen to, because I do think that review scores are going to get much harsher. I think because we're going to be dealing with hybrid games, because we're going to be dealing with, I don't want to give something an 8 out of 10 anymore, with the asterisk 8 out of 10 for a PSVR game. But in the grander scheme of things, when you look at this game compared to a flat screen PlayStation 5 game, it would be a 4 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10. right? I think reviews are going to get harsher because we're going to have hybrid games, and the scale is going to widen greatly. The best games are going to get so much better. The best games are going to be on par with AAA flat screen PS5 games. And so this is all part of the conversation that I want to be having with not just you, Miles, and not Wes and AJ and everybody else, but all the cats out there too, because we need to make sure that that we're all on the same page moving forward, and that I'm communicating to everybody what needs to be communicated. And if people don't think the price should play a factor, then cool. That's never a way that I've looked at it, but I'm more than happy to look at it that way from now on.
It's not just about the consideration of where the bar is for how high the score gets, but a question of how low the score can get as well. I look at
minus
IGN.
7.
Yeah. I look at IGN scores these days, and I don't look at every review, but my sense is that a game, unless it's absolutely an extreme circumstance, won't get below 5, 6 out of 10. It's as if the scale is between 5 and 10 out of 10 with a lot of reviewers. Because even if you put something out there, you'd have to be someone that makes a game that was a clear cash grab that was dumped and they left it without any intention of improving it or people to actually have any enjoyment out of it. Then, yeah, you punish it. You do a warning. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems very rare for people to say, no, that game was a 3 out of 10. That seems way too harsh. And, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts about the lower end of scoring.
I think the scale needs to be explored fully. I do think that if a game is absolute trash, I mean, no problem putting out a 0 out of 10. If something's just broken, things horrible, I think the scale needs to be explored.
What was your last 0 out of 10? Do you know? I'm going to look it up.
I've never had a 0 out of 10, and I will tell you the reason is because there are 2 games I think that I've played. No, actually, there's more than that, but I think that A Fungus in My Garden, I think, is very close to a 0 out of 10. I think.
Okay, I haven't got that one.
I think Thug Life is very close to a 0 out of 10. I think that. What was the Apocalypse Boxing Apocalypse, which was just horrid. Very close to a 0 out of 10. These should be considered some of the worst games ever made on the platform.
Right. Because I started building a list of all PSVR games, and I haven't done a lot in the last year. But the 2 I've got at the bottom was Space and Wolf VR 1 and 2, and that got 1.5. Is that
Space and Wolf?
Oh no, that got 2. Horror Adventure VR.
Oh yeah.
You gave 1.5, and then Coaster got 1. Yeah.
It's interesting, and I really do like this. I do like this. And this is, again, I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. I started off in one very specific place. I knew that we were going to be kind of going through this and figuring things out and listening to the chat and hearing how all this goes down. I really, really like some of the suggestions that we've got in the chat. And one of them specifically is from Bogey Cat Productions. Says it maybe have a value for money score as well as an overall score. I do think that maybe the funny thing is that I never even used to have a review summary screen at the end of my reviews, but because people were like, you should give us the positive and negatives, like give us a plus column and a minus column. And I was like, well, that was already in the review. But I guess to kind of summarize it all, let's put that up there. And then somebody's like, we should have a list of controllers that gets supported. And I was like, that makes sense because, we need this. And then somebody's like, well, what about so I've just been adding to the review summary screen. And I do think that maybe there's a place for maybe the game cost $70. And then in a little box underneath it, say, would recommend at this price. So I would recommend this game at $35. When it gets to be a half price sale, now pull the trigger on it. And I think that's an awesome idea, Bogey Cat Productions. Thank you very much.
I think it is good because it also means when the price changes, people can still look at that review and go, well, at release, that was the price, and it was seen as too expensive. So it gives you something to there's something relative there. Yeah, for sure.
And again, that would be something I would have to add into the conclusion of each review, saying, hey, this is a fantastic game. Don't buy it at this price, though. I'm coming around, you guys. I'm coming around, and I'm sorry to disappoint anybody out there who says that price should be considered with a review score, but I do think there are ways around this to make everybody happy. But again, we'll continue this conversation going into the next generation of games and make sure that we're all on the same page. think it's a good conversation to have. There's one tip that we didn't get around to. Wally is now a game cat, specifically a white tiger with Canadian $5 tip, says MetaQuest Pro would be expensive. Sony should do a showcase ASAP, reveal the price, reveal pre-orders with a limited stock before Meta's showcase. Interesting. I like this, right? Because they go, oh, look at this. And then Meta goes, oh, look at our real expensive headset. But again, I do think that if Meta goes, hey, look at our headset, and then the following day, Sony goes, but look at ours, and look at this price point that you can't beat, is be again, total stompage. All right, man. We gotta wrap this up with, as always, a game of PSVR 20 questions. That means I have a game in this little head of mine, shaved head, I
just thought what the game was when he lifted up. Yeah, I saw it there.
What's going to be under the hat?
Yep.
Is there going to be hair? Is there not going to be hair?
Okay.
Oh, I called it. I've got a PlayStation VR game in my head, and it's up to Miles to guess which game that is using 20 yes or no questions with a 6-minute clock running. Guys, please help him out. He needs all the help he can get. I know how difficult this is.
I do need lots of help. I need lots of help.
Miles, are you ready?
I am ready, Brian.
All right. On your mark, get set, go.
Can you die in this game?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Okay, you can die in it.
The first question, I was like, am I going to AJ this?
I thought it was a bold question. Be a good one if you said no. That'd narrow it down a bit. Does it use analog sticks?
No.
Okay, move controller. Okay. Does it have full locomotion?
No.
Was it a top 50? Was it in our final top 50?
I've got the list right here. Let me double check. No.
No, not a top 50.
God, I don't think so. There's so many fucking games on this list.
Was it a puzzle game?
No, not a puzzle game. That's 5.
Is it a shooter?
Or
do you shoot in it?
Yes, but I wouldn't call it a shooter.
Okay. Is the aesthetic realistic? Is it a realistic aesthetic?
I mean,
even if it's
in the vein of what it's going for, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it sci-fi in terms of its style? Like futuristic or techie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sci-fi for sure.
Okay, Game Cat. So you can die in this game. I did say that. Move controller, no full locomotion. It's not in the top 50. It's not a puzzle game. You do shoot in it, but it's not a shooter.
You didn't ask about puzzles?
I said, is it a puzzle game? You said no.
Nope, that never happened. Are you AJing me? Are you AJing me from the questionnaire seat? Can
someone check?
I'm gonna give you a freebie and say there are puzzles in it.
Okay, there are puzzles.
But I don't consider it a puzzle game, no.
Okay.
Minimal puzzles.
Well,
it's a freebie. It's a freebie.
Yeah. Like, you can die in this game, but I wouldn't consider it a dying game. Yeah?
I wouldn't call it a dying simulation, no.
Yeah.
Wait, everybody's saying that, and I said, no, it's not a puzzle game? Where the fuck was I? What did I say? Okay, keep going.
And it's sci-fi. So it's not a puzzle game, but it has puzzles in it.
Yeah. What did I think you asked? I must have thought you said something else because I don't fucking remember this. And we're going to give you like an extra minute on the clock because this is...
That's cool.
Yeah.
Puzzle game. Did it come out in the last 2 years?
No.
Okay. Older than 2 years. Okay. Is it based on a popular IP?
Yes, that's 10.
Would you say that there are stars in it?
Aren't there stars in every game? If you look up, yes.
But can you see stars?
There's stars in it.
You can see
sure.
stars.
So,
Yeah.
A few celebrities. Yeah. I mean, stars. Yes.
So yeah, and would you say that you wear silly uniforms with like a little badge?
I'm sure. I don't know about badges, but yeah, silly uniforms. There's silly uniforms in the game. I don't know what you're wearing, but yeah.
No, I don't know if this is throwing me off. Do you coordinate with 3 other players to control a ship and go boldly where man has never gone before? Where no man has ever gone before?
Miles, you absolutely don't do any of that in this game.
Oh, okay. So it's not.
I love that you were just headed straight toward it.
I know. I was liking that.
Yeah. There was a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Well, normally it does track that. Oh man, this is getting difficult now. Is it a part? Is it a part of the Star Wars franchise?
It is a part of the Star Wars franchise.
And is it episodic?
It is episodic. Yeah, that's 15.
Cool. Is it Vader Immortal?
It is Vader Immortal.
Thank goodness for that.
Thank goodness for that. I can't believe you asked if it's a puzzle game.
Yeah.
I can't. What, dude? I need to go back and watch that because I'm like, I don't.
Can someone clip this episode when Brian's in denial, and then we'll do a few moments earlier, and then
like I feel like someone took over my body. I was on autopilot, and I'm just going, yeah, no, yeah. You know, like you did not ask. Yep, I don't have any recollection of that whatsoever. DTB VODs says, are there wars in those stars? That would have been a great question.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh man.
Great job, Miles. Great job, Kaz. Fantastic getting the game. Even with all my fuckery, you still got it within the time limit, within the questions. Well done, sir. Well done. You are deserving of a weekend off.
Oh, thanks, Brian.
Yeah, well, because I have the power to give that to you.
I really appreciate that.
What I do have the power to give you is not asking you to come in tomorrow for a 7.5-hour workday.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, last week was absolutely brutal. Because it was after the fact I'd done the 5 hours in the studio on the Friday doing those 55 scripts, and then got home, did our 2-hour show, and then went to sleep, and then it was a 7-hour. It was full on, but it was amazing. I was buzzing.
Everybody's going back and telling me exactly when you asked if it's a puzzle game. Defunct Bomb Bro says when I was looking at the top 50 list, so I guess I was distracted, but still, to just...
It's all right. I don't hold it against you.
Thank you.
The bomb didn't go off. No one died. No one died this week.
We kept talking. No one exploded. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
No one died this week, so that's the good thing.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, Miles. If you don't already subscribe to Miles, doing great stuff over there on your channel, man. I like the... What was the life hack that you gave us this week?
It was on time blocking. So it's where you basically... Elon Musk does it where he breaks up his entire day into 5-minute slots, but that's because he's rich, probably pays people to do it, or has some sophisticated AI. During my work week, I actually break down the day into 15 minutes, which might sound like that's a lot to do. How do you do it? Well, we go through it. And funny enough, the show stayed on time for the hour, and then we played the game at the end, and then there was something extra, and it ended up being a 2-hour show. So some people looked at it and went, speaking of time management, it was double the length of a normal show. So but it was really good, and just love it. Always see a lot of game cats there. Love the support, and really appreciate it, because every week I show up I'm always a bit nervous going, is anyone going to turn up? And when people do, it's a really good time. So really means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. YouTube.com/Miles, MYLES. One of the most amazing URLs I've ever seen.
It's pretty damn good.
But it's not just Miles and me that keep this show running. It is all of our amazing moderators who work tirelessly, not just here, but over on Discord, to keep everything moving smoothly. So please give a shout out to all the awesome moderators that we have. They're some of the best people in the world. Right alongside of Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, who puts all the timestamps into this show within hours of it finishing. Sometimes I go to bed within hours of the show ending, and so you guys don't get timestamps until tomorrow. But Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry is always on top of that shit. Like every single night, they're always in my inbox by like midnight latest. Also, Jay Meow, who puts this up on podcast services of your choice. Don't forget, if you don't want to sit here and stare at our faces for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 7.5 hours, you can just go to podcast services of your choice and listen to all of this shit. Podcast style. Thank you, Jamie, for doing that. Thank you to everybody who hung out and watched the show. Thank you to everybody who supports us on patreon.com/withoutprogames, keeps the lights on. Thank you to everybody who tipped. Thank you to everybody who helped Miles with 20 questions. And thank you to everybody who participated in the conversations tonight. And of course, thank you to everybody who sat back and watched the show and didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Let's get out of here, Miles.
Have a great Friday, everyone. Much love.
Shh. No one say a word until the Sony showcase. And actually, Miles, now that it's just you and I, now that we have some alone time.
Back on our Discord chat. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Grizzly Bear King with a $5 tip.
Yeah.
It says, I came here looking for the best no one say a word until the Sony showcase should price affect review scores on YouTube. And that's exactly what I found.
It's pretty steep competition out there.
There is. I mean, if this is exactly what you're looking for, you found exactly that.
Well done.
Word.
Hope you had a good show, everyone. And hit that like button if you haven't already. There's still time.
Yeah. Miles, have you played anything fun this week?
I was really happy that Professor Lilith had summoned us on Sunday to play Star Trek Bridge Crew because I had so much fun with it. And it was only when I got into the game that I remembered how much fun it really is. Even the way the mouths open and close when people are talking, it's simple things like that.
Yeah.
Considering how long the game's been out for, they just nail it. And the immersion is so good and just the absurdity. And I love it, the fact that they've put the original Enterprise on it, where, back then when they did the show, I think the actors, pretended with themselves they knew what the buttons did. Obviously, they're acting, but so they kept pressing the same buttons on every episode. They kind of told themselves what they were. Mm-hmm. But the fact that when you first sit in it, you're like, okay, none of these buttons are labeled. And it's just chaos. It's absolutely incredible. And so I had a great time with the GameCat meetup. Professor Lilith was on our team, and we wanted to try and complete that really tough trophy. The I keep forgetting the first word. Maru. What's it called? Begins with K.
I'm sorry. The
Harish Marie. Oh, I can't remember what it was.
Dude,
I'm just making up random.
You've brought this up so many times. Kobayashi Maru.
Kobayashi Maru game, which is a no-win situation.
That's right.
And
it's a big deal in the Star Trek universe.
It is, and I always forget it every time.
Yep.
Just the Maru mission.
If you didn't ask me, I would have known. But then you asked me, and I can't even remember if you asked about a puzzle game.
Collective amnesia, man. It just pushes it out. But we played the first mission of the game where you do play it, and then we actually went into the challenge, and we actually completed it on our first attempt.
This is the longest fucking setup for a clip of the week of all time. Dan Kiefer says, "What role did you play?" And I think we should just show him. What do you think?
Yeah, let's just see what happened on a different occasion.
Okay.
Burn system first.
Yeah, silver is marked right now, right?
Yeah, there should be something that just...
select destination. There's a button. Select destination.
Okay.
Okay, it does nothing.
Select destination.
This is hilarious. And this
Okay, I can
target
see
is
a
my...
cool mark. Yeah, I'm trying
Yeah,
to
this is-
find it.
Ah,
There
yeah,
you go.
okay, cool. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
Now we need to scan
we have
that.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah. Increasing speed.
This map is better than the one I have on my console, to be honest. This one. It's much...
Your map is pulled back. It's wrong.
A few moments later.
Oh, the one. No, I'm panning left. Because of the. Because you see, mice?
I do.
Panning left.
We are getting to be
Because this one is.
Hold that 80%.
Turn on the shield for them to be effective, dude.
Yeah, let's get him out. Get him out of here. I don't want to see that. I paid good money for this carpet.
Dude, the dude going over the railing was just fucking next
I
level.
love that.
It looks like he threw himself over the railing.
Yeah.
So good.
He was like, I need to quit this job, so how do I do it? Get an injury. You gotta feed me up to the sick bay, get me off here. If you've never played this game and you have PlayStation Plus, although it might be on Extra because it's the Ubisoft collection, you can download it, get this game, and I'm up for jumping on it again sometime.
Nice.
Just do it. It's such. Even if you're not into Star Trek, it is a brilliant game, and it was actually on my top 50 personally because I think still, and even playing it afterwards, I was like, yeah, this game is absolute magic.
It should be. It's a game that relies just as much on player interactions as it does as the game itself. Just like Werewolves Within, I say more than half of the fun of playing it is your interactions with other gamers and other players and their ability to either get into the role or at least if they can't get into the role, at least have a good time with it. And Bridge Crew and Werewolves Within are just always so many laughs, man. So many laughs. And that was just, I imagine that was just one of many awesome moments you had when you were playing this weekend.
It's just the way the arms, the gesticulation, and like the way the mouth is. There was actually a bit I cut out where he's going, he was talking about how the map on his console was worse than the one on his left. So I'm sort of saying, can you just move out the way so I can have a look? And he's sort of moving, and his character's doing like this chicken pose. And it was just like, and then I like that Professor Lilith is on the far left, like with her back turned, like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with any of this chaos. I'm just going to do the work. She was engineer, so doing all the power systems and stuff. Did a good job.
Love it. I love it. Listen, for the 134 people still watching, thank you so much for hanging out. And you all have a great weekend. We love you all.
Love you all, people.